In this video, we're going to study Chapter 2 of Porphyry's Introduction. This is one of the most important lessons that you'll see in your first few years of study in classical reasoning or classical philosophy in general. It's a very important lesson, and to be honest, I don't think most students would be able to get through it without help. And in this video, I'm going to help you to understand what's in Chapter 2 of Porphyry's Introduction so that you can move through it quite easily, as you'll see. In Chapter 1, we learn that Porphyry said that in order for us to prepare for the study of Aristotle's categories, there were 5 terms that needed to be clearly understood, that were a cause of confusion, which led to troubles when students tried to work through Aristotle's categories. Those 5 terms were genus, species, difference, peculiarity, and accident. In that first lesson, I said that these are the 5 predicables, but I think we should actually say that there are 6 predicables because there's another individuals that we're not going to talk about much in this course, but we just need to remember that there is another one, and I'll explain that in this lesson, so don't worry about that. But Porphyry told us that there are 5 terms that we need to establish a clear understanding of before we get into Aristotle's category. So, genus, species, difference, peculiarity, and accident. In this lesson, we're going to learn the meaning of the terms genus and species. Okay? So that's the topic of Chapter 2 in Porphyry's Introduction. Now, the first question we have to ask is, why is there confusion about these terms? And the answer is given right at the beginning of Chapter 2 in your lesson. And this is just a printout of the lesson. Porphyry says, "It seems indeed that neither genus nor species is simply denominated." And I wrote up here, not simply denominated. Okay? What does that mean? Denominated means that a name is used with a certain definition. Okay? So if I give a name to something, if I use the word stone, for example, and I name something, okay? That word stone may have just one meaning, and everyone in every use of it uses the same meaning, okay? When that happens, that word is very clear and easy to understand, because that word, having only one meaning, is simply denominated, or it's named in a simple way where there's just one name and one meaning for that name. Okay? That's what it means to be simply denominated. Genus and species, however, are not simply denominated, and Porphyry explains that that's why students run into a lot of problems and get confused with these words, because they're not simply denominated. These words throughout the history of philosophy have been used, but with different meanings by different writers. And that's a cause of confusion. So when people enter into the study of Aristotle, they may do so with a wrong meaning attached to these words, and then may misread Aristotle's writing and get confused. Okay, so what Porphyry wants to do is first explain the 3 ways that this word genus is used throughout history, and which way we should think of it when we study Aristotle's writing, because that's all that matters. Okay, is what does Aristotle mean when he uses the word genus? So Porphyry is going to do that for us. He's going to help us figure that out. He tells us that there are 3 ways that genus is used by ancient writers. In your lesson, these are given. If you look, it says of genus, Part 1, definition, and then the 3 paragraphs that follow that give the 1, 2, 3 definitions that I have written on the board up here that I'm going to go through. Okay, so this is right in your lesson. There's a lot more material in the lesson, but what I explain will make this easy to understand. The first definition has to do with habitude. Okay, this is a new word that you've probably never seen before, and I'm going to explain what it means, so don't worry. The first meaning of the word genus expresses a certain habitude, and all habitude means is relationship. Okay, the only reason I'm using the word habitude here is because it's in your lesson, because this is from a translation written in the 1830s, when this word was more common. The first definition has to do with habitude, and this is right in the first paragraph of your lesson in chapter 2. He writes, a collection of certain things subsisting in a certain respect with reference to one thing and to each other is called a genus. So this is the first use. A genus is a collection of certain things which have a relationship to some other thing and to each other. Okay, that's a genus, a class of things with a certain relationship. And he gives an example. Very simple. For example, the genus of the Heraclidae, and I know you don't know what that means, but it's very simple. Heraclidae simply means the children of Heracles. That's what Heraclidae means, okay? The children of Heracles. Just like the Israelites means the children of Israel, okay? Heraclidae, the children of Heracles. The genus of the Heraclidae is denominated from the habitude from one thing. I mean, from Hercules. So all of the sons of Hercules, and by sons they mean descendants, sons and grandsons and great-grandsons, all the people who have this relationship to Hercules are members of a class called a genus, the genus of Heraclidae. Okay, that's one example of how the word genus was used in history, such as the Heraclidae, or the sons of Heracles, or the sons of Israel. That's a genus, okay? A collection of things that have a certain relationship to one another and to some other thing. That's definition 1. The second way that genus is used has to do with generation, okay? Generation means coming from something or being born out of something. He explains right here in the lesson, after another manner also, the principle of the generation of every one is again denominated genus. Okay, and he gives some examples. And he says, not only does this refer to, let's say, the sons of Heracles are, the Heraclidae are the sons of Heracles, it could also mean that, for example, Plato is from Athens, okay? An Athenian is the source of all of the people of Athens. So generation, having a common generation of some kind, is the second way that genus is used, a class of things that share some common generation or origin, okay? The third way is different from these, okay? And I'm going to tell you to begin, it has a star next to it because this is the definition of genus that we're going to use in our study of Aristotle, okay? So I want you to understand these first two, but if you don't, it doesn't matter because these are not the right definition. This third definition, which is actually the easiest to understand, is also, thankfully, the definition that we need to use. So let's look at it. This definition is more philosophical, okay, which makes sense since we're going to study Aristotle. The definition that's right in your lesson says, genus is that which is predicated of many things differing in species in answer to the question, what is this? That's a mouthful. Let me read it one more time. Genus is that which is predicated of many things, differing in species in answer to the question, what is this? Okay, so there are three important points in this definition. The first is that genus is predicated of many things, and many doesn't mean 1,000. Many means more than one. Okay? A genus is that which is predicated of more than one thing. That's the first point. And those things all differ in species. Okay, they differ in species, and you'll see why that's important in a minute. And they answer the question, what is this? Okay? So, very simple example. If an animal ran into your front lawn and you looked out the window and saw this animal and you never saw it before, and you pointed out the window and you yelled out to your family members, what is that? What is that? How would they answer that question? If they answer it intelligently, they're going to answer possibly with a genus. Okay? And there's a number of different answers that they could give. They could say, if they know, let's say it's a rabbit, and you just don't know what a rabbit is. Someone can say, that is a rabbit. Okay? They would name a class of things to which that animal, that individual animal belongs. All right? And look at the definition. The genus is that which is predicated of many things, like a rabbit, things that differ in species from other animals, like a rabbit, and answers the question, what is this? So it'd be true. Okay, that'd be a good answer. That's a genus. That animal, that individual animal, is a rabbit. That's a genus. Someone could also point at that animal and say, that's an animal. Okay? Animal being a greater class, and let's look if it works. If someone pointed at the animal and said, that's an animal, okay? A genus is that which is predicated of many things. Animal is predicated of many things. Things that differ in species, okay? It would differ in species from other creatures that are not animals. So yes, differs in species and answers the question, what is this? That's what it does. So rabbit would be an example of a genus. Animal would be an example of a genus. And there are others that you could go up into larger and larger classes of things and name the genus of that thing. Okay? 3 points in the definition of genus. Predicated of more than one thing or many things. Those things differ in species, and we'll see what that means when we look at species next. And third, answers the question, what is this? Okay? Now, just to give you an example, if someone, when you pointed out the window and said, what is that? Someone said, it's brown. It's brown. The answer brown doesn't answer the question, what is that? I didn't say what color is that. I said, what is that? You see the difference? Brown is not a genus. Okay? A genus is predicated of many things which differ in species, and it answers the question, what is that? Okay? Brown would not be a genus. It doesn't answer the question, what is this? Okay, so that's the right definition of genus. If you can learn that and keep that in mind, when you get to Aristotle and he uses the word genus, you'll know what he means and you won't be confused. If you go into Aristotle with definition 1 or definition 2 as your idea of genus, reading his writing won't make sense because that's not what he means by the word. What he means is this philosophical definition of genus. Okay? So that's the first one. That's for genus, the definition of genus. And again, that's right in your lesson, right here in bold print, that definition right there. Okay? Next, moving on. To clearly help us, or to help us to clearly understand genus, what Porphyry does is he compares genus to each one of these different predicables to show us how they're alike and how they're different. Okay? This is to compare and to contrast how they're alike and how they're different, because that helps us to really understand what each one is, how they're alike and how they're different. Because how they're different is really what matters. We know that they're kind of alike. That's why there's confusion. But if we can understand how a genus differs from a species, we won't get them confused anymore. Okay? So he does that here. But one thing he does first that I want to talk about is he just takes a moment to give us an example of each of these things: genus, species, difference, peculiarity, and accident. Okay? So let's quickly look at an example of each of these, which will immediately help you to understand what we're talking about. Okay? First of all, we're going to start all the way down the bottom, thinking of individual things. All right? And he gives us two examples. Socrates, an individual man, right? One man, Socrates. William Michael, an individual man, individual person. You know, you would be another example of an individual. There's only one of you in the whole world. We can't look at anything else and say that is William Michael, because there's only one. There's only one you. There's only one Socrates, only one Plato. Okay, individuals cannot be spoken of anything else but themselves. All right? That's an example of an individual. What this means, individuals. Second, accident. Okay? Accident. Some examples: white or sitting. Remember the example of the rabbit. It's brown. That's an accident. Okay? And here's why. An accident is a quality that isn't always true of some object. Okay? That may be a brown rabbit, but I can show you a white rabbit or a gray rabbit. Okay? Being brown is not necessary for a rabbit. It's only accidental. It's an attribute that can change. Okay? That's an accident. Saying that a man is white-skinned, is an accident. A man does not have to have white skin. White skin does not make a man a man. Okay? Sitting is another example that Porphyry gives. Changing position. Right now I'm standing. I'm talking. You're listening. You're probably sitting. Okay? These are accidents because I'm standing. I could sit down and I'm still the same individual. I'm still the same person. I haven't changed. Just the accident of sitting or standing has changed. Okay? So an accident is a quality that's not necessary for a thing, but can change or be different in different examples of that thing. Okay? That's an accident. Next, a peculiarity. A peculiarity is a characteristic or some attribute of something that is only true of that thing. Okay? A peculiarity is an attribute that's peculiar to that group of things. All right? So, for example, if we were to talk about man as a class, as a genus, okay? Man as a genus. What is a quality that's true of all men and of no other animal? We might say rational, but that's actually not a peculiarity, and we'll see why when we get to the next of these examples. A good example, and this may surprise you, is what Porphyry says, risible. Risible. And what that means is the able to laugh. Able to laugh. There are no other animals that are able to laugh except man. We may say a hyena laughs, but it's not laughing. It just makes a sound that is like laughing. Okay? So a laughing hyena is not actually laughing. But only man is able to laugh. And so risible, or able to laugh, is a peculiarity of man. Only man is risible. But risibility, or the ability to laugh, is not a defining characteristic of man. It's peculiar to man, but not defining. Okay? That's peculiarity. So an accident doesn't necessarily have to be true of something, but can be. Or at different times may be true, other times may be false. A peculiarity must be true of a certain thing or a certain class of things, but it doesn't define that thing. Okay? Next, difference. Okay? Difference, the example is rational. Okay, so rational is a quality that is peculiar to man, but it's more than a peculiarity because it is defining of man. It's the actual quality that separates man from other species. Okay? Rational is different from risible, because risible is peculiar, but it doesn't define man. It doesn't separate man from the other members of the larger class, as we'll see as we continue to go up. Rational is what separates man from other animals. Man is a rational animal. Okay? So the difference is that quality of a thing that actually separates it from other members of a class to which it belongs. That's a difference. Next, a species. A species is a genus in that it's a class. Okay, so for example, William Michael, Socrates, Plato, were individuals. We're individuals. We're members of a class. The class is the species man. Okay? That's the species to which we belong. We're going to learn the definition of species in a minute, and you'll see what that means. But species, an example, would be man. Remember, it's a name. It's a class of things. It's a name given to a class of things. Okay? It's not a genus. We're going to see in a minute why this word species is not a genus. Okay? It's different from a genus. But for Socrates and Plato and me and you, the species to which we belong is man. It's a class of things to which we as individuals belong. Man. The genus that we belong to is animal. The first genus we belong to is animal. All right? And let's look at the definition of genus. A genus is that which is predicated of many things. true. Animal is predicated of many things, okay? Many individuals, right? Other kinds of things as well, because man is just one kind of animal. There are others, right? Fish, birds, and so on. Genus is that which is predicated of many things which differ in species. Now, man is predicated of many things, but the things that man is predicated of are individuals. And so it's not true that man is predicated of things differing in species. That's why man is not a genus. Man is a species. And again, we're going to see what that means in just a minute. But animal is predicated of many things. The things do differ in species. So for animal, you have divisions. If you were to take all of the animals, everything that you can name animal, and bring them all together, we can divide them not just into individual objects like Socrates, Plato, and so on, but we can first divide them into groups, species. One of the species of animal will be man. Another may be fish, birds, and so on. Okay? Animal is predicated of many things, things which differ in species, and answer the question, what is this? So, like the rabbit, if I was walking across your front lawn and you looked out the window and you didn't know what you were looking at, and you said, what is that? The right answer would be man. Okay? That would be the identification of the species you're looking at. Another answer could be animal. And you could point to the rabbit or to me, and animal would be true of both, but man would only be true of one. Okay? Man is a species, animal is a genus that contains different species. Okay, so these examples here, I think you can see, start to make this really clear. Okay, we can see what each thing is. What's an individual? It's an individual person or individual animal, like your dog. Not just dog, not German shepherds or whatever other kinds of dogs there are. But your actual individual dog would be an individual. You are an individual. Socrates, an individual man, is an individual. An accident is a quality that can change, that can be present in one thing but not in another, and yet they can still be the same thing. It's not essential, okay? Peculiarity is something that's true of only that class of things, but it doesn't define that thing. Difference is that which actually defines the species and sets it apart from all of the other species in the genus. Species is a class of things which answers the question, what is this? But they don't differ in species. There's no species under species. And then lastly, genus is that class of things which contains species and individuals, not just individuals. Okay? You may need to watch this video again and follow me through that to see it all clearly. I know I'm running through things quickly because we're about halfway through and this video is already 29 minutes long. So I'm going to keep moving because you can review this video, watch these parts again, and continue to do so until it starts to make sense and is clear, okay? So those are examples of each of these different terms, all right? Now, as I said, Porphyry goes on and compares each of these things. He compares genus with each of these different things so we can get a really clear idea of what genus is, all right? And I'm just going to zip through these because they're all in your lesson, and you can watch this video again and see me do this, as many times as you need to until it becomes clear, all right? You'll see here that we have genus versus something. Here's individuals, here's species. And then you'll see that the things I list under each one either have pluses or minuses. If there's a plus, it means they have this in common. They're both similar in this. If there's a minus, it means this is something that differs between them. Okay, so plus means they share this, minus means they differ in this. Genus versus individuals. Genus versus individuals, the only thing that they have in common is that they're predicables. Other than that, they have nothing in common. All right? An individual is predicated of only one thing. The genus is predicated of more than one thing. So, other than being a predicable, they have nothing in common. An individual can be predicated of only that individual. A genus can be predicated of more than one individual. Second, genus versus species. Okay? How are genus and species alike? The first, plus. They are both predicated of more than one thing. They're both predicated of many things. Okay? Genus and species are both predicated of many things. Second, both genus and species answer the question, what is this? Remember I said, if you pointed to me and said, what is this? You could say man, that would be true. Or you could say animal, that would also be true. Man is the species, animal is the genus. All right? Both genus and species answer the question, what is this? What do they differ in? They differ, genus is predicated of things that differ in species. Species does not contain other species. Species only contains individuals. So you go from individuals to the first class to which the individuals belong. That first class is species. It doesn't contain any other species or any other groups. It only contains individuals. So you can only say that an individual is a species. You can only name a species as a predicate for an individual. Okay? The genus differ in species. Species only differ in number. Okay, your lesson says species are predicated of things that differ in number. And that's very confusing, because what he means there is Socrates is one man and Plato is one man. I am one man. We differ in number. He's one, I'm another, he's another, but we're of the same species, but we differ as separate individuals, as if we were different numbers of individuals. Okay, like he's number one, I'm number two, Plato's three, you're four, and so on. When we say species, the things of which species is predicated, they differ only in number. They're individuals. That's what that means. Okay? Whereas genus can be predicated of things that are actually species. All right? For example, I can say man, which is a species, is an animal. So animal can be predicated of species. Man. I could say bird is animal. Animal's genus, it can be predicated of species. All right? I can also say Socrates is animal, because genus can be predicated of individuals. All right? Next, genus versus peculiarity. Remember, peculiarity is like able to laugh. Both genus and peculiarity are predicated of more than one thing. Okay? Peculiarity, however, can only be said of one species. Remember, peculiarity is peculiar to one species. So it can only be predicated of one species. Able to laugh. We can only say that of man. We can say man is able to laugh. We can say an individual, Socrates, is able to laugh. Plato is able to laugh because they're men. Man is able to laugh. But able to laugh cannot be predicated of any other species or any individuals that belong to any other species. Only man, because it's a peculiarity of man. Okay? Next, genus versus difference and accident. So he compares two at once here. Genus is like difference and accident in that they're all predicated of many things. All right? Brown, which is an accident, can be predicated of many things. Difference, rational. Rational can be predicated of many individuals. Okay? How are they different? They differ in that genus answers the question, what is this? Difference and accident do not answer the question, what is this? Okay? Difference and accident answer the question, what kind of thing is this? Remember the rabbit. What kind of thing is this? It's a brown thing. That's true. It's a brown thing. That's a kind of thing. Okay? That's accident. Difference. Rational. What is that? Pointing to me. That's a rational thing. That would be true. Rational is a quality that answers the question, what kind of thing is this? But it doesn't answer the question, what is this? Only genus and species answer the question, what is this? Difference and accident answer the question, what kind is this? Okay? Again, that's a lot of stuff. I don't expect you to understand it the first time you watch this video, but you can review that, go back through it. As you read your lesson, you can see real quickly, the lesson says genus versus species, genus versus peculiarity, genus versus difference and accident. That's exactly what I wrote here. It's just explained in more words, probably more complicated than this, but you can review this part of the video and see how simple it is, okay? I just ran through it really fast because I don't want to make a video that's too long, all right? Easy to understand. So far, everything we've looked at is easy to understand. If you were to read this lesson by yourself, I guarantee that you would not have found it this easy to understand, okay? And when you read this, you may have a difficult time reading this, but watch this video until you understand all these things, and then go read your lesson, and it will be much easier to follow. That's the purpose of a pre-lection. It's to prepare you to read, okay? That's the purpose of Porphyry's introduction. The whole book, the introduction of Porphyry, is a pre-lection. It's preparing you to read Aristotle's categories. This video is a pre-lection in that I'm preparing you to read chapter 2 of Porphyry's introduction. So don't worry, if you can't follow me and remember all of this stuff, it's okay. You can watch this video 10 times. It doesn't matter. But you'll see that nothing in here is confusing or complicated. It's just a lot of information that you're going to have to work on to get it all into your own mind and get a hold of it, okay? Lastly, we said in chapter 2, Porphyry is going to describe for us and define both genus and species. We learned the definition of genus, down here, the third definition. We looked at examples of all the predicables, and then we compared genus to each of the different predicables. Okay, so our focus has been on genus, but now we move to species. Okay, so we find the same problem. What's hard to understand about species? Species is not simply denominated. It can have more than one meaning in ancient writings. And when we go to read Aristotle, when he uses the term species, if we read into that word one of these other meanings and not the correct meaning, it'll cause us to become confused and to misunderstand what Aristotle's actually teaching. So Porphyry wants us to get this right. Now, what's different about species is that there are actually two good definitions. They have different meanings. Both of them are important. Both of them are called species, but they're not the same thing. Okay? So let's look at them first. And you're not going to understand this because it has to do with the philosophy of Plato, and we're not even going to talk about it much. He simply says, the first definition, species is that which can be predicated of forms. Okay? You're not going to understand that because you haven't studied Plato, and I'm not going to waste any time talking about it because we're already past 40 minutes. All right? Besides, that's not the right definition, so it's good to learn about, good to be aware of, not a big deal because it's wrong for Aristotle. Okay? Second definition. Species is that which is arranged under genus. Okay? That's a good definition. That makes sense based on what we've been talking about. Species is arranged under genus. And let me just give you a quick little illustration here. Where can you see this? Maybe right in here. If I take a genus, a class of things, say animal. Animal can divide into a number of different things. One of those things can be man. Another, as I said, might be fish. Another might be cattle. Okay? Species, these are species of things that are arranged under genus. Okay? So that's good. That seems to agree with what we've been looking at so far. Second, it's something of which genus is predicated. That's true too. Watch. Man is animal. Animal is the genus. Animal is predicated of man. So this is true. That of which genus is predicated is species. That's true. That's the same meaning that we've been working with. Good. Thirdly, it answers the question, what is this? Perfect. We said genus answers the question, what is this? We said that genus is like species in that they both answer the question, what is this? Good. That first definition, or that second definition, that second definition is good so far. Okay? But there's one problem with it, and we're going to see what that is. Let's look at the third definition. Okay? The third definition, or the third way that species can be used as a word, predicated of more than one thing, good, right? That's exactly what we've been saying. Differing in number only. Remember what that means. Numbers of individuals. So species can only be predicated of things that are different by number only, not different species. Differing in number only, the answer to the question, what is this? We know that's good. So we see the difference between these two. They're both very similar, but this one here, the key is differing in number only. So definition 2 really is the same as definition 3, except definition 3 adds one more detail that makes it different from definition 2. Okay? Both of these are going to be used in Aristotle, but they have two different meanings, all right? And they're going to have two different names, as we're going to see now. What this means is that there are two different kinds of species, okay? This one here, definition 3, is called most special species. Most special species. This one here, what we've been talking about, species so far, is actually most special species. It's the last group before individuals. If we were to take these, the genus, break it into all its species, and break each species into all its species, and keep going down until we got to just the individuals, the first species that contains only individuals, that first species is the most special species. That's what definition 3 refers to. So if we say species in this sense, what we should actually say is most special species, or first species. Okay? This can be said of other things. And I'm going to have to explain this because we have some more to learn. So right now, we're right here. We just draw a line where we cut off. Okay? Now, this is the main event of the lesson. Okay? What we're about to learn here is called, in philosophy, the Tree of Porphyry. Okay? The Tree of Porphyry, because it's like a tree that breaks into branches. And if you go online with a parent, you can search for Tree of Porphyry and see pictures, paintings from medieval times of this philosophical idea called the Tree of Porphyry. This is the most important thing that we're going to learn, probably in this whole course. Okay, and I'm sorry it's coming at the end of this video, 47 minutes in, but you can always watch this video in pieces, so I'm really not worried about that. Now, to explain this, if we were to start with, let's say, man, and let's start with an individual man. Here's Socrates, individual man, and all of the millions and billions of individual people, okay, all contained in the species man. Man is the most special species of any individual. Man, okay? Man is definition 3 species, most special species, predicated of many things, things that differ in number only, that means individuals. Answers the question, what is this? Man is most special species. We said animal is the genus, okay? Man is a division of animal, a species of animal. Now, here's the problem. If we get this out of the way, I don't know how high I can go before you can't see this on the screen, but animal is itself a class of things that, with other classes of things, belongs to a higher genus. Okay? And we can call them, this is in the lesson, animated bodies. So there's a higher genus. Animal is the genus of Socrates. Man is the most special species of Socrates. But animal here, because it's a class that belongs to a higher class, matches definition number 2 and is a species. Okay? So animal is a genus for Socrates. Okay? But in reference to animated bodies, animal is also a species. So it's both a genus and a species. The most special species is never a genus. That's what it means to be most special species. Man is never a genus. It doesn't divide into species. Man is most special species. It is not genus. Animal is a species because it's a class of animated bodies. Look here. Arranged under a genus. Animal is arranged under animated bodies. Is predicated, the genus is predicated of it. Animal is an animated body. And thirdly, it answers the question, what is this? Animal answers the question, what is this? So animal, with reference to animated bodies, is a species. But animal, with reference to man or to Socrates, is a genus. Man can only be species. Animal can be species and genus. Okay? The ability to be both species and genus is the meaning of definition 2. Animal is an example of species used in this sense. All right? Man is an example of species used in this sense. Now, if we go higher, and this is going to go off the screen, but just listen, okay? If we go even higher and draw another class, animated bodies is actually a species that belongs to bodies. It's a class of one kind of bodies. So animated bodies, like animal, animated bodies is a genus with reference to animal, but it's also a species with reference to bodies, which is above it. So animated bodies also meets the definition of species number 2 here. Okay? And then if we kept going, we could keep going higher a few more levels until we finally got to the highest genus of this tree, the Tree of Porphyry. The highest branch, the ultimate highest genus, above which there's no more genus. The highest genus is substance. Okay? Substance. So if we start at Socrates, we would go, Socrates belongs to man. Man belongs to animal. Animal belongs to animated bodies. Animated bodies belongs to bodies, and so on, and so on, and so on, until we finally got to substance. And that would be the end, because there would be no genus above substance. Okay? Follow me here. Man is the most special species. It's the first species above individuals. Substance, all the way at the top of the tree, is the most general genus. Most general genus, all the way at the top. No genus higher than it. It's the most general genus. The genus of all the genuses, or of genera, okay? Most special species. The final or first species, if you start with individuals. Every single class in between the most special species and the most general genus can be both genus and species. The most general genus is only genus. The most special species is only species. Okay? That's the tree of porphyry. Now, if we follow this up, this tree, and we get to that most general genus, what Aristotle teaches in the categories is that in all of the things that can be said, any possible thing that can be said, if we build trees like this for anything that can be said, we will find that there are 10 different most general genera. I know that's a mouthful. There are 10 most general genera. And those 10 genera, the 10, I'll say genuses, okay? Those 10 most general genera, like substance is one, those are the 10 categories of Aristotle. Okay? The 10 categories are the 10 most general genera. And you'll only understand what that means if you understand the tree of porphyry. That's this. Okay? The tree of porphyry explains to us what most general genera is. Those 10 most general genera, which is all that there can be, are the categories of Aristotle. Okay? Here, and you can see down here, I have as the conclusion of the whole lesson is what the 10 categories are. That's why I said this is the most important lesson, because this lesson explains what porphyry sets out to explain in the introduction to Aristotle's categories. He shows us here what the categories are. We can only understand what the categories are if we rightly understand what genus means, if we rightly understand what species means. And there are two different kinds of species. Now you can see that's confusing. So if Aristotle uses the word species, we have to remember that there's two different kinds of species. There's most special species, and there's just regular species, which can be both genus or species, depending on their relationships to different things. Okay? If you understand what genus is with the true definition, and you understand what species is in both of these two definitions, you can then understand the tree of porphyry, which is the key to understanding Aristotle's categories, which is the first book of the art of classical reasoning. Okay? What I've written here is what I drew and explained just in words. At the top is the most general genus. Okay? For this tree, the most general genus would have been substance. And then under the most general genus are a tree of classes and divisions that can be both species, with reference to the genus above them, but also genus to the species below them. And that continues until we reach the most special species. And the most special species contains only individuals. The most general genus, there's only 10 possible most general genera, and those are called the 10 categories of Aristotle. Okay? Then just a couple more terms that Porphyry uses that you'll see in your lesson. The most general genus and the most special species are called extremes. It's like the bottom and the top of the tree of Porphyry. They're the extremes. The most general genus is one extreme. The most special species is the other extreme. All of the levels or branches in between them are called media, which is just plural for medium or middle things. Okay? So all of the media can be both species or genus. The extremes are most general genus and most special species. And media are also called subalterns, just another word you'll see in Porphyry. That's it. That's chapter 2. Exactly 1 hour. It took me to get through that, thank God. But as I said, there's no way that I expect you as a student to have been able to follow me from the beginning of this lesson down to the 10 categories at the end, a whole hour of nonstop talking and writing. I don't expect you to have followed me through all this, but the benefit is that you can watch the video over and over again, and I encourage you to do that, because the explanation that I just gave, you're not going to find it anywhere else. You're not going to find it in any other school. I really believe these lessons are only available here in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. And if you can now do the work, this is what all of this depends on. If you are willing to do the work, to study this lesson, and study and study and study and master this lesson, you will have an understanding, and you will be able to go into Aristotle's Art of Reasoning and read it and understand it rightly, which seriously no other students can do today. There's a reason why no one teaches it. There's a reason why schools don't offer classes in Aristotle's reasoning. This lesson explains the key to understanding Aristotle's reasoning. The first book of Aristotle's reasoning, the categories, cannot be understood unless you understand the Tree of Porphyry, which is explained in Lesson 2, Chapter 2 of Porphyry's introduction. I'm going to stop there. That's a power-packed lesson, and I encourage you just to watch this video over and over and get started with your reading, okay? Chapter 2 of the introduction, read it nice and slow. Watch the video. Let the video help you understand the lesson. Let the lesson help you understand the video, okay? You have to do this work. The video is not enough, and the lesson will be too difficult. If you work through them both, you can do it, but it takes work. You really have to work. I understand this because I've done the work as a student, and I can prove I've done the work because, like Aristotle says, I'm able to teach it. That's the proof that somebody knows something, is when they're able to teach it. You have to now do the work, and really the test for whether or not you understand it is whether you can teach it. And I hope that one day I get to see you teach this lesson. It's time to get to work now. I hope that this is helpful. Go and get to it. God bless your studies.